publicityless.
I think they're providing publicity to themselves, is what I think they're doing.
Exactly. Yeah, they're like, hey, look what we can do! We can cause a mess!
Because I'm looking at the information they've released, and none of it is relevant at all to anything.
No.
It's just there. I mean, there's no signs of U.S. military abusing these prisoners. There's no signs of these prisoners being, tortured. There's nothing in these documents that would indicate that this was necessary. That this was a necessary release. I just don't. I don't see the necessity for this. Maybe this is a debate for another time, for another tech show. But it just seems very. First of all, it's very bland. It's very boring. I guess maybe WikiLeaks has just become too aware of itself.
I think whatever good it could have served, whatever good credit it had, whatever name it had out there, it's been destroyed. It's
Elrad brings up a good point. Releasing the few prisoners in Guantanamo are innocent isn't relevant.
True.
No, I agree that it is relevant, but what about all of the other prisoners in there who have been interrogated and have been determined that these are people of importance or of interest and they need to continue to be interrogated? Now, personally, I mean, if we could actually step back here and say, I'm completely against the idea of Guantanamo Bay anyway, and I think they should be treated as prisoners of war, or at least, outright prisoners with actual rights, and, they have a chance at, having a life outside of Guantanamo. But considering that's not going to happen and our government's just going ahead with this anyway, then at this stage, I would say, was it relevant for WikiLeaks to release all of that and not just the relevant pieces of information about the prisoners who were probably innocent but they just weren't released?
I think right now it's a question. They are not a responsible actor in this, and it would be nice if they were showing more restraint and more responsibility, and it's not happening, and it's unfortunate and it's disappointing because WikiLeaks could have represented such a force for good, and they're squandering that goodwill they had.
I think WikiLeaks would be loved more in America if more corporate information was released rather than government information.
Yeah. That because right now that's the one that needs accountability more than the government in a lot of ways.
We've had a landmark ruling in one of those mass BitTorrent lawsuits in the U.S. One of those pay up or else sort of things. That the radio. This particular one targeted 100,000 internet users in the last year. District Court Judge Harold Baker has denied a copyright holder the right to subpoena the ISPs of alleged copyright infringers because, according to him, an IP address does not equal a person. Among other things, Judge Baker cited the recent child porn case, and this was an interesting one, Nash, where U.S. authorities raided the wrong people because the real offenders were piggybacking off the Wi-Fi connection. Using that example, the judge claims that several defendants in the VPR's case may have nothing to do with the alleged offense either. Baker concludes by saying that his court is not supporting a fishing expedition for subscribers' details if there is no evidence that it has jurisdiction over the defendants. And I just have to...
Yes.
Just got to applaud you there, Judge Baker.
Was it Steele, the prosecuting attorney on that, or the plaintiff's attorney on that one?
On this particular one, I don't know who the prosecuting attorney was.
Because I think his name is Michael Steele. I may be getting that wrong. Let me double check that.
This particular story doesn't name the prosecuting attorney, just the defendant, Robert Cashman, Texas lawyer Robert Cashman, who represents several defendants.
John Steele, that's the guy.
Okay. The plaintiffs are VP International. So I can't VPR International in Montreal, Quebec. I don't have who it is exactly, but it's an interesting ruling. I'm glad to see that somebody has finally come to the idea of an IP address, especially when IPv4s just run out, doesn't link to any one person. Because what's going to happen in the future when, in the very, very, very recent near future, when ISPs are forced to NAT behind one specific IP address, and they have 100 to 200 subscribers behind that one IP address. It's going to be an interesting day in court.
It's going to be a headache to try to sort out who belongs to what. I mean, are we going to get to the point where? Well, I think what they would love right now is if we were at the point you had to have a login for the internet. I think they would love that. It'd be impractical as hell, but that's what they want.
That's what they want, but how would you do that? The internet was not designed for that.
Oh no, it was not designed for that. But they want to be a way to be able to identify what you do, where you are doing. Yeah, Liam said AOL.
Well, AOL would have probably been it, yeah.
But it's gonna right now. Yeah, the IP addresses don't match people. That really needed to be established. What about the pornography, the kiddie porn case in question, and took the FBI 3 days, which baffles me. 3 days to figure out that it was not coming from his computer, but from a neighbor piggybacking off his router. That just stuns me.
They probably didn't make it a top priority. Although there has been some criticism that the FBI has made child porn too much of a priority, and they need to focus more on other crimes as well. I hate to say this because child porn is obviously a terrible crime, but let's play devil's advocate here. Is the FBI focusing too much on child porn?
Yeah, it gets the headlines. It gets good press.
Well, it certainly gets good press, but there are other crimes out there that should definitely be looked into.
Yeah, but those are harder. That's more.
Those are harder to prove.
Those are hard.
Some interesting news here. Have you paid attention to TiVo at all lately?
A little bit. What's up with it?
Well, you may remember that Dish Network and EchoStar were brought into Dish Network, basically EchoStar, was brought into court by TiVo for their DVR system.
Yeah,
long-running patent dispute that has gone back since 2006. Well, EchoStar will pay TiVo $500 million to settle the DVR lawsuit. That should keep TiVo afloat for a little while.
Not for much longer, but...
Well, I mean, they've still got the exclusive DirecTV subscriber base.
Yeah.
They still hold patents to several key technologies. So, I mean, TiVo may just end up becoming a patent farm at some point. The most recent court judgment came April 20th in the United States Court of Appeals to the Federal Circuit and found EchoStar in contempt of an earlier injunction despite modifications to its DVR software. The companies have licensed certain patents to each other, including the infamous Time Warp patent that was at the heart of the dispute. TiVo scored an upfront $300 million cash payment, and with the remaining $200 million to be paid out between 2012 and 2017. So it's just, do you think? Well, basically, what's going to happen is, I think TiVo technology will eventually find its way back onto the EchoStar, the Dish Network DVRs. Do you think we'll see you think we'll see TiVo licensing out their technology to other DVR companies at this point? Well,
yeah, but I still feel like they're rearranging deck chairs on this one.
I mean, TiVo. I remember back in the day, TiVo was the thing to have.
Mm-hmm.
You had to have a TiVo because it made television watching just perfect. You could access anything at any time. Oh, it was wonderful. And then every other cable company on the planet said, well, we could do that for pretty cheap, too. So kind of bit TiVo in the butt.
I remember when the VCR was the big thing you needed to watch television. And that lasted about 10 years. And how long has the DVR been about? About 10 years?
Been about around 10 years, yeah. Been around 10. I can't believe TiVo's been around since about 2000. That's amazing.
Everything is moving toward streaming based, and whether it takes 5 years or 10 years, that's where we're headed. So, with the DVR going on, I see that there's gonna be migrations between the technology between the companies, but it really is rearranging deck chairs at this point.
Gonna end the show on one piece of news here. Researchers in Japan have successfully tested 2 separate 100 terabit per second data links that use a single optical fiber to carry the loads. Yeah, New Scientist reports that.
Over hearing that.
Oh my god! And I can guarantee you it's not multi-mode fiber. It's definitely single-mode fiber, but I don't want to bog you down with that technical detail. New Scientist reports that NEC scholars stuffed the light from 370 lasers into 165 kilometers of fiber to achieve a top speed of 101.7 terabits per second, while NICT researchers set a new record of 109 terabits a second using a special fiber with 7 cores to manage the trick. Alcatel, Lucent, and NTT aren't sitting still, though. They're not using the fastest fiber right now, but you can imagine that they're definitely researching faster fiber technologies. The theoretical limit of single-mode fiber, Nash, is unlimited. So it's not surprising to actually see 100 terabits per second in a single piece of fiber. Where do we go? I can't wait. I honestly cannot wait for the day that every single building in the United States of America is lit for fiber.
Well,
because there will be a day that there will not be ISPs. You know what's going to be? It's going to be Google with their Google Net, and everybody's going to have fiber, and Google's just going to say, well, that's the internet.
Yeah, but right now, I know people who are still on dial-up.
Oh, yeah.
Because there just is no broadband service where they live.
There's no WiMAX, there's no line of sight. I know, in fact, my uncle who lives out in Oregon on a goat farm, he has dial-up service because the cable line stops about half a mile away from his house. In fact, at the curb of his house, and they won't run it to his house unless he pays them $10,000 for a build-out. And he said, you know what? I'm a goat farmer. I'm not paying that. So he uses dial-up.
Yeah, I mean, you got people going, we can shoot 100 terabytes a second across the ocean. And this guy up in BFE going,
yeah.
So? It's still going to get to me the same speed.
All right, I shovel goat poop for a living, and I sell it as manure. How does this help me?
Yeah.
There are loggers up in Canada right now going, who cares? I don't get cell service up here. What do I care about? You know, it's amazing how we get caught. I think at the end of the day, the story is it's amazing how we, as people who are very passionate and very involved in technology, get way too caught up in this bubble we call technology.
Yeah.